You're missing the whole story if you think that Ghislaine Maxwell was just Epstein's sidekick, or even worse, a victim. I'm going to lay out the dark psychology of a woman who was shaped by a cruel father and driven by a desperation to be rich, and then perfected a unique and devastating form of betrayal on countless young girls. Because the truth is darker, more twisted than the government wants you to think, and it starts with betrayal. I collected these interviews over 2 years doing 2 podcasts on Jeffrey Epstein: Broken, Jeffrey Epstein, and Power, the Maxwells. Here are 5 things you probably didn't know about Ghislaine Maxwell. Let's start with number 1. She had daddy issues. To understand Ghislaine Maxwell, you have to understand her father, Robert. He was a media tycoon, 300 pounds. He owned the New York Daily News, MTV Europe, the Daily Mirror in the UK, Macmillan Press. They lived in a massive house, flew around on helicopters, and she went to Oxford. Her father admired her for her looks and her charm. He used her as an accessory at parties with his rich and powerful friends, much like how President Trump sees Ivanka, as an accessory and a replacement for a spouse just because they're beautiful. Actually, Ghislaine met Trump through her father, Robert, because Robert used to own the New York Daily News, and he parked his yacht on the Hudson River, and Trump came there and visited. And obviously owning the New York Daily News was something that President Trump was very interested in. I know this. I worked at the New York Post, and he always wanted to be in the newspaper. So he and Robert were contemporaries at the time. In fact, I would describe Robert Maxwell as a cross between Rupert Murdoch and Donald Trump. He was a larger than life figure, but he would also humiliate Maxwell in front of her family, mock her appearance. And when she suffered with an eating disorder, he would starve her, locking her out of his kitchen. He was a man, though, who showed contempt for anyone who he thought was below him. He urinated off his roof onto people below as he boarded his helicopter. He would toss his leftover food on the floor for his assistant to pick up. He screamed at his employees all the time, and he used the hand towels at work to wipe his bum, right? Leaving it for the people behind. But despite all of this, Ghislaine was his favorite child, and he even named the family yacht after her, the Lady Ghislaine. The way that they connected was beyond weird. Just listen to his former assistant, Carol Bergoli, describing a conversation that she listened into between the two of them. This is from Power, the Maxwells, by the way.
He was on loudspeaker. The receptionist said, "Ghislaine, Mr. Maxwell," and he picked up the phone and he just said, "Meow," and she went, "Meow, meow," and he went, "Meow," and it went on like that for about a minute, I think. Just a nothing call, really, just a meowing call, yeah.
Okay. After Daddy died, she was broke and desperate to return to the high life. He mysteriously died, just like Jeffrey Epstein, off the side of his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. And Ghislaine did not believe that it was suicide, even though he was stealing pensions from the employees at the Daily Mirror, the paper that he owned. A lot of people believed that he was killed by Mossad, that he was helping the Israeli intelligence agency. And after all, since he was bankrupting his own company and stealing from the pensioners, he would suddenly be more likely to be blackmailed, right? He would be in a more compromising position. After his death, he was buried at the Mount of Olives in Israel, where prime ministers, princes, kings, and presidents are buried. And by the way, when he died, it was Ghislaine who told the yacht crew to destroy all the documents on the boat. She must have had an idea what Daddy was up to. But when he died in scandal and disrepute, and he left no money for Ghislaine. So she fled the country in shame. She was a socialite in the UK, so she headed to the Upper East Side where socialites lived, but she lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And that was a horror to her. She sobbed over the fact that she was broke. Just listened to how she described her new lifestyle to her friend Christina Oxenberg. This is from Power, the Maxwells.
"I am broke." She said it more than once. I didn't question it. I've been broke most of my life. You know, there've been ups and downs. And sometimes it's been $7 in the bank. And I have asked, for sandwiches from friends. It's happened. So when she said she was broke, I took it literally.
And then Ghislaine meets Jeffrey Epstein, and suddenly she's living in a multi-million-dollar townhouse, back to the high life. Somebody to fill in for the role of daddy. Number 3. Once she found Jeffrey, she was desperate to impress him. Just like her relationship with her father, she settled for breadcrumbs from Jeffrey. She told people she craved his love. But he only wanted children, so she went to great lengths to find them, to molest them alongside of him. But still, she wanted to be seen by Jeffrey. So she got a helicopter pilot's license to impress him. She even begged Christina to ghostwrite a memoir for her, hoping that the story would help Epstein see her differently. Really. But when Christina asked her about the girls, this is how Ghislaine described them.
And she says, they are nothing. They are trash. What?
Number 4, she hated Epstein. He belittled her in public and treated her terribly. When Virginia Roberts and I traveled around the country for Broke and Jeffrey Epstein, we found a witness who would open the door to us and speak to us, who had never spoken to the press before, and that was Epstein's longtime houseman, Juan Alessi, who literally drove Maxwell the day she found Virginia in the Mar-a-Lago spa. That was part of his job, to chauffeur Maxwell around every day to find 3 girls to satisfy Epstein's sexual desires. And he saw Virginia and he said, oh, wow, she is young, she is beautiful, and she will probably be back at the house, right? When Juan and Virginia sat down together on his couch, it was so weird to me to hear them almost gossiping about their terrible boss, Ghislaine Maxwell, and what it was like to work for her. And even more so, their confusion over her relationship with Epstein. Take a listen to Alessi and how he's describing some interactions with Ghislaine while he drove her around looking for girls.
I told her many times, says, because she would sometimes come out crying in the car for me to drive, right? And I says, Ghislaine, why are you doing this? Why are you staying with this guy? I hate him. But John, I can't leave. So why? You have money.
Yeah. Well, after this episode was filmed, we found out that Ghislaine sued Epstein's estate, saying that he promised to always provide for her financially in terms of her legal bills that she would face from procuring girls for him over the years. Sounds like he promised to provide for her for the rest of her life for this kind of service, this kind of criminal service. And by the way, while we were interviewing Alessi, the FBI called him. It's all on tape.
I think this is the FBI.
Yeah, the FBI called in the middle of our conversation.
Don't say a word. Hello? Hi, how are you? How you doing?
Virginia and I are staring at Juan, hardly able to believe that of all the times the FBI would call, that would be at the exact moment we're talking to him. We were spooked. Were they following us? And Virginia's phone, it exploded later on that night, likely from being pinged by cell phone towers. Was law enforcement tracking us? Possibly. Number 5, I can't overstate how many times I hear from the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein that Ghislaine Maxwell was so much worse than him. They feel very betrayed by her. Her cruelty just cut deeper because of betrayal trauma. She was the person who played the role of the friend, the mentor, the safe person, the woman. She was the one driving around her Ralph Lauren with her little dog named Max, pointing out girls and telling them, you're beautiful. You could be a model. I know Les Wexner from Victoria's Secret, which she did know. I'm going to make your dreams come true. Just come with me to this old man's house up on the Upper East Side. She was the one who told them that she would protect them from Jeffrey Epstein. And all she did was lure them into the trap, where she was the one to take off Virginia's panties first before Epstein molested her. And she was the one to fondle Annie Farmer's 16-year-old breast before Jeffrey Epstein jumped into the bed. She was the one who gained their trust. She was the one who said that she would provide for them and care for them. And then she was the one who dug in the first knife. She is the reason why so many of them felt betrayed. Take a listen to Annie in our conversation here.
She was a huge part of connecting Epstein to the people he was able to access. Her presence alone as a woman, I think, helped people feel safe. I know in my case, I felt after, my first encounter with Epstein, I was certainly on edge because of some of the ways he had interacted with me. But then when I learned I'd been invited to the ranch and that Ghislaine was going to be there, I agreed to go because I thought, well, nothing could happen because this is his partner. And she would, as a woman, I will be safe because of her presence. Right. And I think that was the case for many people involved. It's not just, organizing or luring. I mean, she's a participant in the abuse.
So the next time you hear free Ghislaine or somebody asks, well, maybe she's a victim. Does she deserve clemency? Tell them who she really is. Send them this video. Tell them to check out my work at tarapalmeri.com. Because if the MAGA movement really wants to take down a cabal of elite pedophiles, we should probably start at the top of a woman who created an entire human sex trafficking operation, probably one of the biggest in our country of our time, to impress a billionaire who could fill in the hole that daddy left behind. This was a woman who just wanted to live the high life, and now she's living... Well, she was living the low life in a federal prison, and now she's at a prison camp, and who knows what's next. I was talking to Maria Farmer the other day, and she was saying she's afraid that it's going to be house arrest next, and then it'll be a pardon. And that is what the survivors fear so much after they gave up so much of their time, and they really had to live through their traumas all over again to tell the stories of what happened to them. And to see Ghislaine Maxwell inching towards freedom, it just feels unfair and it feels unjust. And that's why we're here right now. So thank you to everyone who's new to the channel. Thank you to everyone who's been with me alongside of me. You can support me by sharing this with your friends, subscribing, leaving a review if you're listening to this, rating this if you're finding it on iTunes or Spotify. I do want to thank my producer, Eric Abenati, and the rest of the Tara Palmeri Show team. That's Adam Stewart on the thumbnails, Sarah Carney doing social media, my team, Luke Radel and Abby Baker doing social research, and a quiz every week. I'm going to continue to stay on this story. It takes a lot of energy emotionally, and it's a deep and dark one. And in these scary times, you got to get it right. So I am trying to work through all of it, and I hope you will be patient with me and support me along the way. I'll be back again soon.